What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Buffalo Dash. It's our first episode after the first game of the season. What a shootout that was, Kieran. I guess we'll just jump right into our first topic. What'd you think? What are your some takeaways from that game?
The Buffs impressed me initially, man. I'm glad that some of the things that we talked about in previous shows sort of are some of our initial suspicions about what the team would look like were a little bit confirmed. Both on the side of the ball, we saw the defensive strength pretty much right off the bat, which was really, really exciting with those couple turnovers. On the other hand, it was clear that the defense definitely did jumpstart our offense, which we talked a little bit about last week. With a younger, sort of less experienced offense, we suspected might be necessary. So I was really excited to see the Buffs sort of come out just firing on all cylinders, nonetheless, and be able to put some points up and get a W in the first week. What about yourself?
I mean, I was surprised. I think a lot of people were. First of all, I didn't think that Colorado was going to put up nearly the amount of points that they did. Same thing with UCLA. I really thought our defense was going to play a little bit better, and we'll get into that a little bit later on what Colorado can improve going into Stanford this week. But I was really impressed with that offense. It really seemed like they had been playing with each other for more than a couple months. Neuer looked really good. He looked really comfortable, surprisingly, and he seemed poised. He wasn't rattled with those long third and eights. He knew what to do with the ball. He made very little mistakes. If anything, it was more that his receivers dropped his passes. And he looked like a really, really good quarterback. And like you said, the defense definitely jump-started that offense in the first half with that fumble on the punt after the first possession, the interception by Wells, and just the defense that we were expecting to see. And I think they kind of wavered in the second half, but when it came down to it, the seniors stepped up. Nate Landman made that huge play on fourth down to really ice the game for Colorado there. Mustafa Johnson was a presence felt too, and that, like I said, it's secondary. It bent, but it never broke. And that offense just seemed so efficient on Saturday night, and I was really, really impressed in how well Coach Severini was calling plays, and just the fact that they were constantly moving the ball. They never seemed to falter. It seemed like the O-line was providing so much help for Broussard to run all over that UCLA defense.
Yeah, I mean, so Jarek Broussard, I think, he's the talk of the town after that game. Especially, we were missing Katie Nixon, we were missing Alex Fontenot, both guys who we knew are going to be crucial to this CU offense this year. And so to play our first game, missing those two staples going forward for this team, Fontenot in the backfield and KD playing out there playing wide receiver. So we could argue that Neuer was arguably without his top target for the season, longer term, and without his starting running back that he's probably been kind of just running most of his reps with. And so to see Jarek Broussard come out first game for CU and put up three rushing touchdowns. This kid is something special. This kid, and this is the kind of thing that I think you and I were talking about. We were so eager to see about the season. Is he's something where coaches weren't necessarily talking about him after in their sort of post practice pressers and things like that, just because he was just another one of that part of that sort of running back core that Carl Durrell's been trying to sort of develop more sort of holistically rather than sort of on an individual by individual basis. But then in doing so, they were able to just come out against a UCLA defense that was clearly a little bit rattled, from the get-go, and to see this kid come out with the kind of confidence that he had, run for 187 yards, something like that, and it was just absolutely, it was really, really exciting to just see that kind of confidence from a kid playing his first collegiate football game, since high school.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like you said, the 187 yards, 3 touchdowns on 31 carries. And he didn't slow down all game. He was finding the holes. He was bouncing off guys. He was a hard tackle for the UCLA defense. He looked like he'd been playing for 3 years. And the fact that this was his first collegiate start and he put up these numbers, and deservingly he won Offensive Player of the Week from in all of the Pac-12, it definitely shows that what me and you were talking about is that this deep running back is going to do so much for this Colorado offense. And the fact that he put up those numbers, as well as Neuer. Neuer ran for 64 yards and a rushing touchdown. It shows that he can sling it with the arm and he can get it done with his legs. Those crucial. He ran for I think it was 2nd and 10. Ran for a first down, hurdled a guy. That's the type of stuff that wins you football games. That's the type of play that's going to win games against those tougher opponents like the ASUs and the USCs that are coming into this game thinking, hey, this Colorado team is kind of a pushover. Yeah, they won against a very in-between UCLA team, but we're much better than that UCLA team. And this is the type of stuff that Colorado needs to show throughout the season, that they can win, that this type of play, this type of running back play, this type of quarterback play, this type of offensive line play, because, wow, they were fantastic on Saturday night, protecting Neuer and creating all those big holes for Broussard to run through. This is the type of stuff that's going to win you those games.
Absolutely. I mean, so, the offensive line play can't be understated. That was a point of, strength that we knew coming into this, right? We knew we had an experienced line that they've sort of been able to sort of fill in with largely veteran players who were returning to the CU roster. And so we knew that at the very least, despite our sort of inexperience in the backfield at both quarterback and at running back, besides Fontenot, that they would at least give us a little bit of a buffer, which they absolutely did throughout the game. But and I think with Jarek Broussard, we can't overlook the fact that he also had like 21 yards receiving. I mean, and that was just in a single. I mean, that was a single receiving play. But I mean, this is a kid who 5'9", 185. Not so much smaller than KD, could also, play a little bit of slot receiver and stuff too. And I think it'd be, to sort of play in a little bit of a Christian McCaffrey sort of role where, a guy who can run the ball really well on the ground and also, Neuer can sort of audible, put him out wide and have him still be a threat, at that position, is enormously sort of, I think there's just a lot of upside for Jarek Broussard going forward for the rest of the season, the rest of his career. And so I'm really excited to see how he develops. But, again, all that sort of comes down to, at the basis, the fact that Neuer was being protected by that offensive line that, was just so clearly, had been in this position before. And, despite, there's no fans, there's, coronavirus, all this different stuff, late start to the football season. And the Buffs just didn't seem rattled by any of these sort of, outside factors that definitely did totally change the atmosphere of the game compared to what any of them were used to, going into playing this game. There's not 55,000 people in Folsom. It was sort of, there's just, there's a lot of things that have been unconventional, and they were able to sort of overcome those things and look like a team that's, been here before and been playing for a while. And I think a lot of that testament goes to Carl Durrell and getting them prepared for this game as well.
Yeah. So we have a comment from Ryan Root. He said, as a Cougar, I was getting PTSD during this game. Not gonna lie, when that lead was cut to a touchdown, I was like, oh no, this is UCLA Washington State all over again. This game's gonna go into a shootout. This kind of goes upon what we'll talk about later in the show and what's gonna improve on the defense. This is a point where me and you made really throughout the history of Buffalo Dash, that this defense is going to win us games, and this defense almost lost us the game on Saturday. Obviously they came up big when it needed to. They made the big plays. They were physical, but the touchdown pass to the tight end was a broken coverage. You had to know that DTR in the second half was going to try to do something to jumpstart this offense, and he did it with his legs. And that's just kind of the things I think you need to anticipate. But if that's the only thing they had wrong going for them this week, I think that's stuff they can fix in practice leading up to this Stanford game, and quite possibly going into a Stanford that's without their starting quarterback that really struggled against a very good Oregon team. So you really can't tell how good they are just because Oregon is that much better than Stanford. But the defense was a little bit of a worry, but in the end, they got the job done. They came up when they had to, and it showed that the seniors were going to step up, like we said, and made the big plays.
And some of that comes down to a mental toughness and sort of like mental stamina thing. These guys hadn't played. They played inter squad scrimmages and things like that, but they hadn't played a full length football game. And being that dialed for the entire length of a football game, I mean, obviously it's something that we expect of the Buffs, and we should expect of the Buffs, and I think we can expect them to improve on going forward. But that's an area where I am willing to give a little bit of leeway given the unconventional nature of the season coming up to this point, and the fact that it was the first game of the season in a very different sort of atmosphere where you don't have the fans giving you the same sort of energy and carrying you through to the fourth quarter and things of that nature. So they definitely were dealing with a different set of circumstances, but we do need to see them play a full 4 quarters next weekend and beyond in order to continue to be successful.
Yeah, I'll tell you one guy who played a full 4 quarters, and that's Sam Neuer. Much like our Dashboard's colleague Nathan Ackerman, who had to apologize to the BYU fans that he disrespected. I think me and you both deserve to give an apology to our guy Sam Neuer, who I wouldn't say we disrespected, but we didn't put any respect on his name going into this first game of the season. And boy, did he prove both of us wrong. What do you think?
I mean, yeah. So, Sam Neuer, if you end up seeing this, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry we ever doubted you. I think that I think that the biggest thing that we underestimated here, right, is just his maturity and his experience from that perspective, right? So obviously he was playing safety last year under Mel Tucker, who, by the way, is 1-2, and lost by 42 points to Michigan. Lost by 42 points with Michigan State to Iowa last week, but we're over it because we're 1-0 and it's no big deal. So Sam, I'm glad you found your position that you were meant to play, and not playing safety. Also, just a testament to Mel Tucker's inadequacy as a coach. But I was super excited to see that, and I will say, and he said this in his after game presser, that they asked whether he was nervous and how many plays and stuff did it take to sort of like get his sort of feet about him and things like that. And Sam he said it was right from the first snap, and honestly he did look comfortable right from the first snap. He was driving that offense. He was conducting those guys the way that we need a quarterback to sort of be able to control an offense, and a way that sometimes Steven Montez and people like that would, Stefan Lufau would in the past have struggled to really sort of command a lead of the offense, and Sam played within himself. He didn't try to go for anything crazy. He was running the ball a lot of the time, which was fine. But we also saw him move his legs a little bit and get in the end zone using his legs, which I was super excited to see, especially coming from a guy with his kind of size. So, we totally obviously underestimated Sam Neuer. I'm glad that we were able to see him play a little bit now, because obviously a lot of this has been sort of suspicion on our part and sort of us just projecting what could happen without actually having any evidence to see it. And so this is just a testament to being able to see him play and, letting his game speak for itself.
Yeah, I think Ryan Root commented another comment. He said, how do you think the team managed to hold up without Shenault? I think this goes into a testament to Neuer, Sam Neuer. We saw he looked comfortable, and he looked like he'd been playing quarterback. He didn't stop playing quarterback since 2015. He doesn't have the arm Steven Montez has, but honestly, they don't need him to. They have a deep running back core, like we said, that offense is going to really depend on. We saw it with the huge performance Derek Broussard had, and he was slinging the ball. He was 10, 15-yard slants for first down to Brady Russell, a big guy that Colorado finally found out that they have a tight end who's capable of being the big man they need to make those 10-yard slants possible. Dimitri Stanley, big guy. Daniel Arias, big guy. And obviously when we get Katie Nixon back, big guy. So I thought they held up really, really well without Shenault. Obviously, no one's going to match the same talent he had last year. Just his pure combination of size, speed, playmaking ability. But this Colorado team didn't look any worse for wear, and I think that really comes down to Sam Neuer. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the show, when it came to those third and longs, so it's 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s, he looked comfortable. When the pocket collapsed, he was able to get out of the pocket and throw to the big tight end Russell, or throw across his body to Demetrius Stanley for those first downs. He showed the ability to run the ball with his legs and make plays when the plays they called up collapsed, and that goes to a testament to the offensive line. So I really think this Colorado team that we thought was going to struggle without Montez, that was going to struggle without Laviska Shenault, really didn't show it that on Saturday, and they really proved not only the Colorado fans wrong, but a lot of doubters in the Pac-12 that, hey, this is a team that quite easily can put up 48 points. And while the defense should have played a better game, I think when your offense puts up 48 points, you need to win football games, and you usually do win football games. And this offense looked so efficient. They looked like they had been playing together for 3 to 4 years, and it really is. It showed a lot of promise going deeper into the season when we go up to, like I said, against teams like an ASU and a USC and even a Utah, the last game of the season, who we haven't got to see yet, but they're going to be good again. So I definitely think that when it comes down to it, Sam Neuer looked like a seasoned vet, and he's going to lead this offense to do great things this season.
I agree, and I think a lot of it also comes down to the fact that I don't think that Darren Chiaverini and I don't think that Carl Durrell were really calling up necessarily the same plays that they necessarily would have if they had Steven Montez in that backfield, right? I mean, Steven Montez, known for the sort of arm that he had, the ability to throw it, really deep down the field. And that's also, though, when he had people like Katie Nixon and Visca both out, like playing, receiver at once, where both of those guys have the kind of speed where they can run a long slant or they can run a streak or something and leave defenders in the dust and open up possibilities for 50, 60-yard throws. But without Katie, playing out on the end with, Brady Russell and some of these guys, these bigger guys who are a little bit more of like powered guys who we can sort of hit for the shorter, shorter lengths of like shorter throws that are going to be higher percentage and sort of just not necessarily the Sports Center top 10. Oh, look, he's going for 80 yards. Boom, nails it. Touch. I mean, it's the kind of thing where like you don't have to play the sexiest football all the time in order to win games. All you have to do is just get the first down to, move the chains. And Neuer didn't try to outside of himself as somebody who was looking for just, when certain plays collapsed, looking for, but still, can I still manage to get a 60, 70-yard throw out of it and throw a stupid interception? Like, plays collapsed, he either moved his feet or he threw it out of bounds and just played it safe. And then the defense being just like super staunch throughout the game, though, I for the most part, did also allow the offense to be able to play within themselves and to play a little bit conservatively, because we didn't find ourselves in the fourth quarter of a game needing, down 21, 28 points and needing to put up 3-4 touchdowns in a short period of time and forcing people to play outside of themselves. And so I think it just is a testament to when we're able to just have each player sort of just play their own game, and the coaches are obviously tuned into what that looks like for their players. It yields enormous benefits. And so I was super, super psyched to see that. And it was a different sort of brand of CU football than I think we've seen over the past few years.
Yeah, I like you said, the different brand that the offense just seemed much more efficient than last year. That, like you said, Neuer wasn't playing outside of his ability. He showed that he could do it with his legs. He was running for, while he didn't get first downs, a second and 9, getting 7 yards set you up for a 3rd and 3. And the way Jarek Broussard was running the ball last night, you had confidence you can run the ball and he was going to get that first down. And they were calling plays that just kept moving the chains, kept the defense kept the UCLA defense on the field, kept them on their toes. I don't remember seeing any big plays from that CU offense, and they still put up 48 points.
Yeah,
and that just goes to show that the play calling is working. That they're calling plays that move the ball. That has an efficient offense. That they have a quarterback who can sling it 15 yards downfield to that tight little space to get a first down. That they have a running back who can break out for almost 200 yards of rushing offense, who can push it in. You have capable wide receivers and a very capable tight end that they finally understand how to use, because we did not see any Brady Russell last year, and it really pissed me off.
No, it was crazy to see that. I mean, the kid's from Fossil Ridge. He's from Fort Collins. It's not. I mean, not half an hour away from Boulder, and I've never seen this kid on a CU football field. It's unreal.
Yeah, and I think Saturday's game showed how much Mel Tucker was holding back this team. Yeah, you lost Steven Montez, you lost LaVisca Chenault, you lost NFL talent, and you come in, you bring in a new coach, and you bring in a guy who hasn't played quarterback in 5 years, and they put up 48 points on the board. I mean, it goes to show that, while Mel Tucker come in and give a reinvigorated confidence to this Colorado fan base, Colorado, in my opinion, just came in and said, "Who's Mel Tucker? Why did you put any trust in him? Why didn't you put trust in me? I just won you guys a football game that you weren't expecting to win, and I had an offense just put up 48 points with much credit going to Coach Cheverini because he had a really, really good game calling plays. But I mean, that game Saturday truly was an all-around team effort, but it really came down to Sam Neuer being the guy that they need at quarterback, who's not playing out of his needs, who's being the quarterback that can do what they need, show it with the feet, show it with the arm, use the people around him to win ball games.
I agree. I 100%. And so, I mean, I think that said, we've got to then look at, one game down, but I know that the Buffs are already looking toward next week. They took Sunday off, probably, recovered, get their bodies straight, and they're definitely already hitting the practice field today, even out in the snow. And so, Jason, what do we need to be looking for in terms of improvements on the CU side? It's been great to sort of admire the improvements that they've clearly made since last year and stuff. But I mean, we definitely have areas for improvement. Where do you think we need to sort of see the biggest strides to next week to get a win at Stanford?
I think for me, it's two places. It's the defense for sure. They played a great first half, keeping that team to 14 points. They played great. They played how we expected them to be. They were staunch. They were making plays. And then the second half, I tweeted before the second half that CU can't take their foot off the pedal. And while the offense didn't, the defense definitely did. And you can't let them come out and 2 plays later let DTR run for a 65-yard touchdown because all of a sudden now it's 35-21. That's a 2-possession game, and then UCLA forces the 4 and out on this defense, and then DTR leads them down the field, and it's now 35-28. It's like, okay, what's going on with this defense here? But while there was a lot of miscues on that defense, they made plays when they needed to. Like I said, that big 4th down in the 4th quarter that Nate Lamon made, that pressure on DTR, throws the ball behind the receiver. I mean, that's a first down. If he catches it, you don't know what the rest of the game goes like. Just making plays when they need to. And I also, that special teams, that 2-block field goals is not acceptable. Stefano missed the 51-yarder, not necessarily his fault. It's still a little long for a college player to make. But at altitude, you think he can make that. But me and you said before that season, like that special teams is what's going to carry us to win some of these games. And the 2-block field goals definitely didn't give me any confidence that the special teams is what they were last year. But they had this week to figure it out. They had this week going into a Stanford team that kind of looked lost against Oregon. So what about you? What do you think the CU team can improve on?
I think as you touched upon, winning on the margins is it makes up in big ways, right? And so things like a blocked field goal, a short 51-yarder, but it's 51-yarder that's at altitude, and most kickers at this level can hit a field goal from that distance. I think that those kind of capitalizing on those opportunities are going to be crucial because I think something like the spread for the game, it's about a 6.5 point spread, and it's the kind of thing where I think that Stanford, while not necessarily the strongest team in the world, last week they were also playing now 11 ranked nationally Oregon team, and Stanford was also missing their starting quarterback due to having tested positive for the coronavirus. So I think that CU's definitely going to have to play 4 quarters of football, and not take the foot off the gas, as you said, and hopefully that, we can write that off to being a little bit of sort of early season, trying to just develop the mental stamina in order to be able to, be completely locked in for 4 quarters. And I think that, but they're going to have to find, because there's not the fans and stuff to be able to sort of like provide that external energy and sort of carry them through all those quarters. They're going to have to be able to find ways to sort of derive that energy from, within themselves as a team. And so we're going to have to see that in order for them to be successful against David Shaw and his Stanford team that we know is not totally lacking and was playing, a super, super talented Oregon team. And so, I mean, the margins are going to be important. The defense continuing to be able to create opportunities for the offense, as we saw against UCLA. I mean, I think that a lot of, that positive momentum that we got, I mean, it's a game of momentum shifts. And so, we got that first big wave of momentum on our side because the defense was able to get some big, big stops for us that created opportunities for us. And so while the offense can limit their turnovers and their 3-and-outs and things like that, which hopefully we'll see them continue to do. And, the longer we possess the ball, the less time that is, for Stanford to be able to possess it. But, and so, I mean, the more we can do that, the better. But on the other hand, we're still going to need our defense probably to come up big for us in a few instances in order to create those opportunities. Because, again, we're relying on these guys who really are the more sort of experienced side of the ball for these CU Buffs.
Yeah. Ryan commented, what worries y'all about the Stanford team next weekend? That's honestly a tough question. Like, even the Oregon game, you really don't have much to base the Stanford team off of. Like Kieran said, they were missing their starting quarterback, who we don't know if he's gonna play this weekend or not. So that's a hard thing to judge. Their field goal kicker did miss 4 field goals though, and that's how you lose football games right there. Like you said, game of margins. If the spread's only 6.5, like that's 6 points. That's I can't do math. 12 points right there. That Stanford left off the board. And Stanford lost this game 35-14. So that's a 26. That's now a 35-26 game that they lose, and you never know what kind of confidence you get, that kind of thing. But for me, it's where do we go from here? I mean, the offense has just got to do what they did best. Stick to the run game. Set up Sam Neuer for these 15-yard slants. You get the big play, take it, and like you said, the defense has to come up and make big plays, like they showed against UCLA. I thought they could have been a little bit better against UCLA. They had the guys. They showed it in the first half that they can hold an experienced Pac-12 quarterback to only 14 points. But they kind of got lackadaisical in the second half, and they made the big plays when they needed to, but they could have played a completer football game, especially in that third quarter when like UCLA put up 21 unanswered points. That just can't happen. I agree. I think that they're going to have to play a complete football game. I think that Stanford, I mean, who knows whether they're going to play next week, but assuming that they are, I think that, we have to expect for them to definitely, have a little bit more of a sort of aerially, targeted offense than we saw with DTR and the and the Bruins, because it was just for them, they couldn't get anything going right in really, whether it was on the air or on the ground. And when they were and it was sort of, it was tough all around. But I think considering that Stanford was able to put up the points that they were, and not even have their starting quarterback playing, once they get their starter back in there, and I would presume for now that it's going to be their starting quarterback that's back in there come Saturday, that I think that our sort of secondary is going to have to be ready for that. And we didn't get to see a whole lot of our secondary, or sort of to the level that they we could have. And where we saw the majority of our stops come from were from just our defensive line, and the occasional Nate Landman get finding a hole up the middle and stopping a quarterback sort of in his tracks. So I think that that's going to be important. But I've got a lot of positive
positive takeaways that I'm optimistic about the Buffs in Palo Alto next week.
Yeah, I think before we kind of close things up, I think the biggest thing, not only for the Stanford team but the rest of the schedule, is don't take anyone for granted. You can't take you never know with the Stanford team that didn't play without their starting quarterback. So you've got to go in there assuming they'll have everybody at their best. You need to be at your best. You need to play Colorado brand football. You showed Saturday that you were able to put up 48 points. You're able to win ball games. You just need to do it again. So it's really going to come down to what happened Saturday. But with that, Kieran and I want to thank you so much for coming to another episode of Buffalo Dash. If you want to see more of us on social media, follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. If you want to check out our YouTube channel, check us out at Dash Sports TV. We'll be where all of our shows are live streamed. Now that the Pac-12 season is back, we'll be doing crossover shows every week. So like how I did mine with our Dash Sports affiliate from Bruin Sports, Jack Perez, last week, where we kind of broke down the upcoming matchup. Kieran will be doing it this week with the Stanford Dash Sports colleague on their channel. So definitely check that out. Also check out Sports Pac-12. Super cool partnership we have going with them. But with that, we'll see you guys next Monday, and hopefully we'll be 2-0 by then. But you never know. Expecting a good game this weekend. But with that, we'll see you guys next week.